"Mother, I don't want to live with her!" Alice cried as the door closed behind her grandmother. That cry resounded like an echo in Aurora's heart, who felt the full weight of the situation. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future wonderful stories. Let's take a step back to understand how we got to this point. Aurora lived with her daughter Alice and her husband Valerio in a two-story house that had belonged to her parents. His parents had moved to the countryside, leaving the house to them to rent. Aurora worked as the editor-in-chief of a magazine, a job she loved and which provided her with a good income. Valerio, on the other hand, was a freelance photographer with irregular income. Alice, their daughter, was about to start 8th grade. Things got complicated when Valerio's mother, Greta, started going to their house often because she was planning to move. Greta had never approved of the division of roles in the family. Aurora worked outside the home while Valerio took care of the housework and Alice. This went against Greta's traditional beliefs, and she never missed an opportunity to criticize Aurora. "It's not fair that Valerio does all his wife's work while you're out wasting time," Greta said sharply. Every word was a poisoned arrow aimed at destroying Aurora's self-esteem. She knew Greta would never fully accept her, but the idea of living with her was unbearable. Despite his protests, Valerio seemed helpless in front of his mother. "But this house is mine," Aurora insisted, her voice shaking with anger and frustration. "My parents gave it to me." Valerio, on the other hand, arrogantly replied, "I pay the rent, so it's mine." The tension increased day by day, a silent poison seeping into their hearts. The discussions became more frequent and heated, every word seeming to add fuel to the fire. Aurora tried to stay calm, but Greta's every word was a poisoned dart aimed at hurting her. Every evening, Aurora found herself alone in the kitchen, her mind crowded with thoughts. Memories of when home was a place of serenity and love seemed so distant. Now every corner of the house was filled with tension. Valerio, often taciturn, avoided direct confrontation with Aurora, but his passivity was equally painful. Then the news arrived that changed everything. Valerio's father died suddenly. The loss was devastating for everyone, but especially for Alice, who had a special bond with her grandfather. Greta, now a widow, saw the situation as an opportunity to grow even closer to her family. "I'm thinking of moving in with you," Greta announced at the funeral, her tone brooking no argument. Aurora couldn't accept it. Living with Greta would have destroyed the precarious balance he had built. "I'm sorry, but that's impossible," he said firmly, feeling his heart pounding in his chest. Greta was not discouraged. In a fragile voice, she turned to Valerio. "Valerio, your wife is truly a cold-hearted woman. We need to talk alone." Aurora watched the scene with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Valerio, caught between two fires, seemed incapable of taking a clear position. Alice, listening to the conversation, approached her mother with a determined look. "Mom, we can't live with Grandma." "If you want to divorce Dad, I'll come with you." Aurora felt a pang in her heart. He knew the decision was difficult, but also necessary. If you like the video, leave a precious like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. They spoke with Aurora's parents, the owners of the house, and decided to address the situation together. The day Greta arrived with her suitcases, she found Aurora and her parents waiting for her. Valerio looked nervous but tried to keep control. "This is my house, My mother will live here, he stated authoritatively. Aurora replied calmly but firmly, "This house belongs to my parents. If your mother lives here, we will leave." Valeria was speechless. Greta, pale, understood that she could not win that battle. The doors of the house closed forever behind her and Valerio. Aurora changed the locks and began divorce proceedings. Alice was by her side, ready to face the future with her. "Dad was becoming a loafer," said Alice. "If Grandma had come to live with us, she would have emptied my college fund." Aurora knew that their decision had been difficult, but necessary to ensure a peaceful future for Alice. After the divorce, Valerio and Greta moved into a small apartment. Greta began working part-time to support her family, but their life was no longer the same. Valerio seemed lost, directionless, without the support of his family. Every day for him was a struggle with feelings of failure and loss of self-esteem. Greta, while continuing to criticize Aurora, had to accept the harsh reality of a life she had not foreseen. Aurora and Alice, on the other hand, found happiness in a new life together, far from tensions and manipulations. Every day was a new challenge, but also a new opportunity to build a better future. Alice, free from her grandmother's negative influence, began to excel in school, finding in her mother a model of strength and independence. Every evening, Aurora sat next to Alice, helping her with her homework and listening to her stories of the day. The house, which had once been a place of conflict, now resounded with laughter and serenity. Alice, observing her mother's determination, learned the importance of making courageous choices. One summer afternoon, while mother and daughter were walking in the park, Alice stopped and looked Aurora in the eyes. "Mom, I am so grateful for everything you have done for me. You are my example of strength." Aurora felt tears welling up, but they were tears of joy. He hugged Alice and whispered, "You are my strength, my love. Every sacrifice was worth it to see you happy." Aurora, reflecting on the past, knew she had made the right decision. Her newfound serenity gave her the strength to face any adversity. What about you? Have you ever been in a situation where you had to make a difficult choice to protect your family? In the end, what matters more, the blood bond or the serenity and happiness of your family?